Welcome to the show. Once again, we have a fabulous lineup of guests to energise and inspire you.
It's time to wake up your wow with your host, international award-winning speaker, Cath Vincent.
On the show, the birth of New Zealand's latest rock opera with composer Chris Williams. Kay Ingamells on solving your problems through narrative therapy. And Francesca de Valence brings discipline to creativity. And in the Wilde Records recording slot with Jesse Wilde, we hear original music from Rockquest winner Marianne Leigh. All this and more to wake up your wow. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And first of all, congratulations on your rock opera.
Thank you.
So you've composed this. Tell me a bit about the format.
Rightio, so it's called State Highway 48.
Yeah.
And it is an opera. It's 26 songs that kind of thread together. Limited amount of dialogue in between.
Right.
Only a very little bit, to be honest. And it's kind of in over two acts. Runs for about, I suppose, a total of 95 to 100 minutes.
Yeah.
And I would call it, it's a kind of a roller coaster ride the whole way through.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Good, lots of laughs, a few tears. Quite a few people will be wiping their eyes at half time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it has a good, happy, hopeful ending.
Okay, so don't spoil the ending,
Sure.
but tell me a bit about the context. Like, what's it all about?
At its heart, it's a love story. So yeah,
you
I know
are
for all the romantics out there, and it's based within the journey of life in the 21st century.
Yeah.
And it's called State Highway 48 for a couple of reasons. One being, I was 48 when I started writing it.
Okay.
And it is kind of like, I think, for a lot of people that I've come across, it's sort of can be quite a transitional period of life.
Right.
And I guess at the heart of middle age.
Yeah.
And this is a story about people going through that journey of middle age.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, you'll get there in about 15, 20 years.
Yes.
Anyhow, so there's I suppose the central characters, a husband and wife, their two kids, and then around them they have their friends, their workmates, and various other things that kind of come and go.
Yeah.
And within that, because of, I suppose, the way, I guess, in a lot of people's lives at the moment, there's actually an aspect of mental health.
Yeah.
The lead character is kind of followed around by the black dog of depression.
Wow.
And that's a key character within the show as well. So we see how the consequences of that are.
So there's a kind of impactful message in there as well.
I think so. And it's not designed to be, a real message-based thing,
Yeah.
because I think basically we want to try and entertain people.
Right.
But I think if you are challenged and moved in some way by these experiences in the theatre, that's always a good thing.
So you say it's a rock opera.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about the genre and what we can expect from the music.
Okay, it's so there's a variety of different styles, I suppose. Kind of rock, I guess you would call. There's a couple of quite country kind of songs, I would call. One or two blues songs.
Yeah.
A couple that you would kind of call probably semi-classical, they're music-only parts.
Right.
And just a general mix across those lines. It's very accessible kind of music.
Yeah.
It's designed to be along those lines.
Okay, so it's a show for everyone, really.
I think so, yeah. So
some famous people have participated in the show.
Yes. So we did a professional run in 2016.
Yeah.
We launched it in Hamilton and then did 8 venues around the North Island, which nearly killed me, to be honest, but anyway. So Shane Cortez played the lead role, which is Dave.
We love Shane.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
He would have been in this one, but he is obviously quite busy now.
Yeah.
He was fantastic, incredibly professional, lovely guy to deal with, and lived the part, no question about it. It wrung him out most nights, I think. It was pretty hard.
Yeah.
But and the other person, the leading lady during that tour, who's back this time, is Delia Hanna, who is, in fact, New Zealand's most highly acclaimed music theatre performer.
Wow.
She's performed in Australia, Asia, the UK, and the rest of it. She's fantastic.
So how did you had this dream to create this rock opera. How did you do that alongside your normal life?
So first of all, once I started, I actually told everyone I knew that I was writing a musical.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they
That's
kind
bold. That's really bold.
Yeah, and then they say, how's it going? And I say, oh, well, I'm about halfway finished. Said that for quite a while. So in the end, I thought, oh, I better get on to it.
Yeah.
So just do it in between times. writing musical ideas and so on comes quite naturally to me.
Yeah.
So I was able to bank a whole lot of that up and then add the words. And
do you think it was a part of it was the fact that you went public, that you told people?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. To me, it was like, you know, I said I was going to do it, so now I have to.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened, really.
And how long did it take you to write?
Oh, about 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another couple of years and doing the next stages of development and all the rest of it. Because I had no idea what I was doing, so I just went up a few blind alleys and, you know, anyway, we got there.
Yeah, so it's been showing since...
We launched it in Hamilton in 2014.
Yeah.
Then we did some work on it, did another run the following year, then did our professional run in 2016, and then I just had a bit of a break from it, and now we're up and going again.
So that's incredible. Congratulations on your first rock opera.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much.
Up next, Kay Ingamells on Telling Yourself a Different Story. Kay, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
You're welcome.
And look at us, we've got the same outfit on. It's very floral. So now you're a narrative therapist. First of all, what is narrative therapy?
Well, it's really distinct from other approaches to counselling and therapy. There are many differences, but one of them is that we really see problems as stories that people get stuck inside of, rather than being the person.
Oh, right. So because when people have a problem, an emotional problem, or something they're worried about, it kind of takes a hold of a person, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that we do is, in separating the person from the problem, enables people to really see that the problem isn't them. And then there are all these kinds of openings that appear where people start to see who they are irrespective of the problem. Okay. And then we're able to bring those abilities, those skills, those attributes to bear against the problem that they're dealing with.
So give me an example of the kind of problem that a person could deal with using this approach.
Well, really, any problem whatsoever.
Awesome, I like the sound of that. We're problem solving today.
Well, it's not problem solving so much as creating a story which overpowers the problem, so the problem kind of disappears.
Ooh, now this sounds fascinating. So let's take an example and see how that would play out.
I work a lot with children and families, as well as with adults, and also sometimes with couples. And one of the problems that children deal with a great deal is fear.
Yeah.
And there is a kind of epidemic of anxiety.
We're hearing that all the time at the moment, from every angle. Yeah.
And with younger children, say the sort of 7 to 9 year old age range, that's often things like being scared to go to bed on their own, frightened of the dark, refusing to go to school. Yeah. And what I'll do with that is I'll sit with a family and I'll first of all ask for stories about that child or young person that have nothing to do with the problem. I'll ask them about what's wonderful about the child that I'm working with. And then we'll bring those abilities to bear against the problem, which will be named in whatever way really fits for that person. Okay.
So say, for example, a child, afraid of the dark, or as I was afraid to go up the stairs in our house to go to bed because they were dark.
Yeah.
So they would talk about some sort of positive story, like anything, like what, for example?
Well, for instance, I had a boy that wasn't going to school because he was feeling so anxious around social situations. Right. And what we did was, once I started to get to know him through the eyes of what was wonderful about him, is we zoned in on a particular part of what was wonderful about him, which was his bravery. Ah. And they told me a story of how he had pulled out one of his own teeth with a piece of string. Oh my God! And then also how he was when he broke his arm at a friend's house, and he waited really patiently for his mum to come and pick him up whilst he was in great pain. So then we started to think about how he could apply that bravery to what he was dealing with at school.
Ah, fascinating. Because actually, even when you talk about being brave, you kind of feel differently, don't you? So that's an example of working with children. And how do you work with adults?
Much the same way. What we're looking for is we're looking for little threads of stories that can counter the problem story, and then we're growing those. Yeah. And there's 1,000,001 examples I could give you, but this one's just come to mind. A 22-year-old who was feeling really depressed after his father made a suicide attempt.
Oh, wow.
And it turned out, when we really took about what the problem was in his own words and experience. The problem was loneliness. And after the suicide, he followed a kind of family adage of giving back to those who give and love you. But in doing that, he lost sight of himself. So this became about challenging ideas about masculinity and what it is to care for yourself as a man. And he started to really talk about his life with his colleagues, with his friends, in a way that he never had. And that actually made a really big difference in the community of men around him.
Yeah.
So that's an example as well of a problem that's really socially contexted. The problem only could really live inside particular ideas of what it was to be male and be successful as a man.
I can really hear as you say this that it's a story, you know,
Yes, that's right.
that, you know, it could be interpreted a different way.
Yes.
And I guess that's true for all of us, you know, we're interpreting the world in stories that shape our lives.
Yes, and yet problems aren't talked about in that way.
Yeah.
So, so the stories that we create which counter the problem story are just as real as the problem, but we relate to problems as real because they've been talked about in a negative way which gives them a power and purchase, that stories that are perhaps more positive or more alive or speak more to who we are and what we're proud of in ourselves don't necessarily have.
Yeah. Why do we relate to problems as though they're real?
I guess that's because they have a lot of emotional charge, and we regard our emotions as being real, and I think it's having more significance than in fact they do.
Yes.
It's not that they're not important, but there's a long tradition in psychotherapy of thinking about emotions as being the primary force in our lives and what needs to change, and that's quite different in narrative therapy. Emotions are just accompaniment to the story, if you like.
Yeah. So emotions can come and go and you could just observe them.
Yeah, almost like the weather, really.
Yeah.
Again, not to discredit them, they play an important part, but the change doesn't come about through changing emotion or getting rid of an emotion.
Yeah. So if a person is, you know, feeling what they might call depressed, what would your one piece of advice for them be?
Well, I don't have a one piece of advice. I absolutely wouldn't, because it absolutely depends on what that person tells me and how I come to know them. And actually, I don't give advice. That's another thing that's very different about narrative therapy, is I'm drawing on the other person's knowledges. My skill is in facilitating bringing forth somebody else's knowledges.
So really,
not my own.
You have the answer to the problem yourself, really, don't you?
Well, yes, except it hasn't been brought forth, and I facilitate that, bringing forth as a story which is more powerful than the problem story.
Oh, I like that. A story that's more powerful than the problem story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, Kay.
Okay, thanks.
Up next, how to write a song in an hour every week.
Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me here today. My question to you is, how confident are you when you speak in public? How confident would you be doing an elevator pitch like this one? The truth is, if you are not supremely confident every time you speak, you're not the best ambassador for your business. Right. You're not the one who's going to get that job promotion. And you're simply not the person you were born to be. Get happy when you speak and you'll discover confidence you never knew you had. And those results will show up everywhere.
Francesca, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Cath. Thanks for having me.
Now, I know you've taken a slight detour. You were pretty well on your way to the airport, so really thanks for being here. So you've been touring in New Zealand and you're off home to Brisbane, is that right?
Correct. Literally in a handful of hours.
Okay, no pressure. Let's talk really quickly. So you started a community called I Heart Songwriting.
I did.
Tell me about what it is and how it came about.
So I am the founder of I Heart Songwriting Club, and it was created really to help me write and finish songs
Good idea.
every single week, because I am a songwriter, have always been a songwriter, but I really struggle to write songs.
Yeah.
I would struggle to find time to write songs. When I did write songs, I would be sort of waiting for inspiration to strike.
Yeah.
or I would go and do it and sort of give myself a hard time. Like today I had to write a great song that was going to be on my album and sit at the piano and work the idea, hit a wall within 15 minutes, hate everything that I came up with.
Yeah.
And then not know how to work past that and sort of walk away hating myself more than ever.
Yeah.
And it was this cycle of just never getting anywhere where I wanted to go, and I was just constantly going around in circles and couldn't get anywhere. And
So you mentioned that your struggle to write music is why you formed the club. Why do you think it is so hard for creatives to get creative sometimes?
it's not an urgency. There's no urgency to write a song, and it's not tangible, the outcome.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
But in some way it is necessary. It's a part of us.
Yeah.
And so I think some of the barriers are time constraints, busyness of life, and all the other things that are actually more pending,
Yeah.
that are urgent, that need to be done. Often we don't put ourselves first to look after ourselves and nurture ourselves and help ourselves to grow.
Yeah.
I think perfectionism is a massive problem with creatives, is that we only want to write good things.
Yeah, and how do you know when it's perfect,
Well, the thing is that is so subjective anyway.
Yeah.
So what is perfect? And I think that is the part of iHeart Songwriting Club that we fix, essentially.
Yeah. So how many members have you got?
500 members from
Whoa.
14 countries
Oh
around
my
the
goodness,
world.
it's all around the world.
It's all around the world, and we've written 7,000 songs as a club.
That's epic. Like, to have a hand in causing those people to write those songs, that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go you!
But it is actually so rewarding.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing.
So how did you get it off the ground? Like, I can see now, like 500, like we're into big numbers. But like when you were starting, how did that first start? You knew you wanted it, and then what happened?
I actually didn't know I wanted it until I was teaching music at the Queensland Conservatorium of Music. I had a student who articulated in such a clear way when she had to play a song that she had to write for homework and couldn't play it for me.
Yeah.
And the reason she couldn't play it is that she hated it and it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
It was just the way that she articulated, the way that I was listening, that I knew that was not okay anymore because I felt that way.
Yeah.
And so I created it for us. And I mean that as the global us.
Yeah.
It was like, well, this is just not going to happen anymore. We're just not going to do this anymore. We're not going to do it in a way where we beat ourselves up about this. And so it became, from the beginning, it was about a greater good. It was about helping people who needed help. And so within 10 weeks, there were 10 songwriters that had joined this online thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was calling it a club for sure, but it had no more structure than to write a song every single week in an hour and share it with each other as a rough sketch.
Right.
And give each other encouragement and feedback on that.
Okay, wow, write a song in an hour. I don't know how long it takes to write. That sounds pretty quick to me.
I think that there is a practice that you can tap into that when the song sort of drops into you with that ease, it also connects with people with that ease, that sense of ease.
Well, it's interesting you say that. We often have musicians on the show who are like, oh, I wrote this, it came to me and it took me 5 minutes.
The problem with that
Yeah.
is that the rest of the world thinks that that's what it's always going to be like. But the majority of the time it's actually still work.
Yeah.
And we've got to do that work in order to get the gems that do drop in.
Yeah, got
So
it.
they still will drop in, but you've got to do all the work around that, the structure, the discipline, the work.
God, discipline.
Yeah.
A lot of creatives don't like the word discipline.
I think it's really important because we've got this sense of chaos around what we do, but when you put a bit of structure around that, so the creative process is incredibly organic, right? It's still going to be messy within, it's still a mystery, we don't know where it's going to go, but iHeart Songwriting Club is about just doing it in an hour every week. So there's a sense of structure that you're only going to spend an hour on it, so it's not going to take your whole week up.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it every week, because if you can't give yourself an hour for your songwriting and you want to be a songwriter, then there's kind of a bigger problem at play here.
Yeah. So how does it work? Let's say I'm a songwriter, I want to join, and how does it work?
Well, you go to the website, firstly, iHeartSongwritingClub.com, and you join. And when you join, you are allocated a group of 10 other songwriters that could be from anywhere in the world.
Ooh.
They could be from places you've never even heard of before.
That's cool.
But everyone is communicating in English on the platform, so you're not expected to know any other languages at this point, and at this point it is only in English. But you're joining with 10 people, and you commit to writing 10 songs in 10 weeks. So every time you join or every time you're a part of iHeart Songwriting Club, it's always for a 10-week period of time. So you're making a promise to yourself and your group to write 10 songs in 10 weeks and only spend an hour on it. Yep. And each week, the whole club gets the same theme. So all 500 people get the same theme and challenge, but there's all these little nucleus groups that do their own work together. Now, that's not to say you write a song together. You actually write your own song individually, and it's asynchronous. So you can do your song at 11 o'clock on Friday night, and I can do mine like I did, this morning at 6:30 a.m. when I work in my hotel, right? Well, it's like it's only going to take me an hour. I'll be done by 7:30, and we'll have a party by 8, right? That's how it feels.
That's early for a party.
But it feels like a celebration because, wow, I wrote a song. Like, it feels really good, So when you join, you get the challenge, and everyone writes their own song. I record it on my phone. It's just like press record, sing it, maybe play my guitar if I've got my guitar with me, maybe play my piano from my piano at home. Just a rough, nothing fancy. Don't get fancy with the recording. Upload it to your group.
And do you resist uploading? Do you go, oh?
I sometimes resist saying I'm done on the song, but I don't resist uploading. Yeah. That's never a resistance. For me, it's more going, okay, I've done the hour, but the song's quite not really where I want it to be. Yeah. But it's going, that was the practice for this week.
Yeah, but you send it anyway.
You send it, and then your group, because we are so good at supporting each other, not so great at backing ourselves, right? They'll come in and it's instant relief. It really is. I wrote a song in Wellington the other week and it was pretty atrocious. And the irony is I'm going around New Zealand talking about songwriting and supporting songwriters and I'm like, Francesca, really? This is the song you write in Wellington?
Oh, we are hard on ourselves.
And I was quite embarrassed, and I even said so to my group, guys, I'm really embarrassed to upload this, but this is my practice for the week. Instant relief. 2 people had commented the first day saying, Francesca, that chorus is amazing. Yeah. Listen to the flow of the melody and the rhythm of the end of it. Like, if you can listen back to this and not be sort of triggered by that sense of embarrassment, then maybe it's worth continuing. But after hundreds and hundreds of songs, I know that the reality is that I'm not going to go back to all those songs, and that's okay.
Yeah, cool. Well, listen, congratulations, and thanks for sharing it with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Cath. Thank you.
Okay. Jessie Wilde, welcome back.
Great to be here.
So tell me, who is recording in the studio today?
Great. Well, we have a 16-year-old singer-songwriter named Marianne Leigh.
16, wow, that's pretty young.
That's pretty young.
We've been talking about songwriting, so they start young now.
Yeah. And she's the winner of the Auckland division of the Smoke-Free Rockquest for the solo and duo. And she's going to be in the national finals, which is later this year, but she's the winner of the Auckland division.
Great, well, let's hear from Marianne.
Butterflies, they fill me up. Didn't think it would ever stop. I look at you and the world turns blue. Strange to say that all the gray is because of you. You don't know, you don't know, you don't know until they leave and they take the best of you like they took the best of me. You don't know, you don't know, you don't know until it's too late to see they only want the best of you and leave the rest to fall into. You said you'd stay, then ran away. I still don't understand. I tried to leave, but I don't think I can. 'Cause 'cause none of this mess is what I planned. But you don't know, you don't know, you don't know, you don't know, you don't know until they leave and they take the best of you like they took the best of me. You don't know, you don't know, you don't know until it's too late to see they only want the best of you and leave the rest to fall into. And I never felt more empty than that night you held me. Why couldn't I see you only love half of me? But now it's all I know. You love to touch and go. You don't know, you don't know, you don't know until they leave and they take the best of you like they took the best of me. You don't know, you don't know, you don't know until it's too late to see they only want the best of you and leave the rest to fall into.
Well done, that was awesome.
Thank you.
It was great. That was a very emotional song. What inspired you to write that?
Well, I was at school and I was in my music class, and I had this chord progression, and I was just playing it through, and I actually wanted to write a happy song, but the chords they sounded so sad, and so I started thinking about what would go along with that, and I came up with a storyline of kind of a girl that had been used. And I think everyone can relate to it, and I think maybe the reason people like that song is because it's so relatable, because everyone's been used in one way or another in their lives. So I wrote the song about a girl who had been used by a boy.
Boys are rubbish, okay? Take my advice, boys are rubbish.
Absolutely.
Keep away from them.
Yeah.
I tell my daughter that all the time.
You're absolutely right.
Stay away
Did you
from those
notice how
boys.
that trotted out? It's like, yeah.
So you won the Smoke-Free Rockquest. Tell us a bit about that.
I did. I played the same song for that. I had actually written the song 2 days before Rockquest, and I was going to perform a different song, but I really liked Best of Me. I really liked that song. So I was like, well, how am I going to memorize the lyrics? Because the worst thing to do is forget the lyrics on stage. So I recorded the song on my phone, and I listened to it every night before I would fall asleep until I fell asleep on repeat, just the song. It's crazy, but I just kept listening to it and writing out the lyrics, and then eventually I was okay on stage.
It sank in, a little bit of hypnosis. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that was an awesome song, and thanks for sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.
My thanks to all my special guests, to Chris, to Kay, to Francesca and Marianne, and of course our very own Jessie Wilde. And until next time, don't wait to wake up your wow. We've got enough. And then he starts going, we've got enough.
I've got about 10 times more to say.
No, I know.